I'm Lawrence Manchester. I'm the music mixer for The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. I've been here since show number 1, and 5 years prior to that, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and I'm still here. And so I figure we start with a little tour of the bandstand. We're actually in the studio. I can give you a tour of the Roots position, starting with Tariq's mic right here. He also has a talkback mic, Questlove's drum position. You see there's also 2 mics up there for him. And then when he needs to talk to the band, this is his talkback mic. So you never hear this one on the air, but anytime he sings a vocal, you'll hear this one. What you don't see here today is usually there's a laptop sitting right here. And that laptop is how he cues the band with all of the incidental music that they're about to play. And all the band members are wearing in-ear monitors. So he can talk silently to them through the ear monitors and also play the music cues to them. He's kind of multitasking all the time, music directing, playing the drums, obviously, listening to the show all the time so that they can improvise something in the moment. And now we have the front row of the bandstand has the guitar positions. And there's a lot of mics, kind of different flavors. If you need to go more in a rock direction or, they're a hip hop band, but they could play country, they could play for anybody. So having different mic choices allows me to push up different mic combinations to get different sounds on him. And then being right next to Tariq, as you might imagine, a lot of the drums comes into that microphone, which has to stay open all the time. So a lot of what you hear on television is a blend of the kit and the ambience of the drums in the room. The first thing about miking Questlove or any drummer for me is staying out of their way. I never want to put a mic that's in a position that's going to impede how they play. And a lot of the mics, as you see, are clipped on because it's television. We didn't want cluttered mic stands all over the place. So very low profile, things that are clipped and clamped to the hardware, clipped onto the toms, that sort of a thing. This is the Yamaha SUBKICK. It's a product that they offered that replicates a studio technique that a lot of engineers have done over the years where they actually take a speaker out of an NS10 or something and then reverse engineer it so that it becomes a pickup to grab the low frequencies off the kick drum, and then it becomes another microphone.
So what do we have kind of over here, even from a more mic'd setup?
This is Kirk's guitar position. He's wireless, so his wireless guitar pack goes into receiver, and then that feeds into the pedal board. And then that goes straight into the Boogie amp. And I just got a single mic on him. And then Mark also plays keyboard bass sometimes. So this is set up with always a nice bass synth sound.
And while I'm standing here, this looks like their monitoring setup, right?
Yep, they have personal
so they can mix
clank systems, which are fed from the monitor desk, and that allows them to fine-tune their own mix without having to call in all the changes to the monitor engineer.
Very cool.
And then back here is the horn section, sousaphone in the corner. Sousaphone is very important for this mix, by the way. It, for me, is a crucial element to the sound of the band and also anchoring the low end of all the hip-hop music that they play. And then here we've got KSM 313 for trumpet, another KSM 32 for the saxophone. From here, you can see, that's Jimmy's desk over there. So they are watching the show the entire time, right from the bandstand, and are in direct line of sight to him. So there's a lot of visual communication that goes back and forth between them two. Just tiny little looks, where they can kind of read each other and be very in the moment with the show.
And I heard that this band is so talented that even if a guest brings up a track of music, Questlove will pull it up on his laptop, find it on the internet, play it for the band in their ears. By the time they go to break or even before, the band is playing it live.
Yeah, as a little Easter egg surprise for the guest who wouldn't have even known it was coming.
Wow. So moving into guest band world, do they have some sort of hookups here? And then I think guest band monitors is around the corner, right?
Yep. So this is their play space for, usually there's risers of different heights that are set up, and the risers have wheels. That allows us to get them in and out very quickly for changeovers. This doesn't stay set up for the entire show. Back here is our mic panel. CO6B guest band, there you go. That's where we have the inputs to the guest band channels of our show. And then this hits a splitter, a 1-to-1 splitter, so that guest band inputs can go to my desk on the broadcast side and split to the monitor and front of house stage racks in order for us to have separate gain controls and isolation from each other. So stage right is where we have the guest monitor mix position. This is where our monitor engineer will dial up the mix for the guest band. It's a different band every day. It's a different mix every day. It starts from a clean slate and dials up what's needed based on the instrumentation and what their requests are.
And they, just for positioning's sake, they're literally right next to the guest band performing right here.
That's right. And sometimes this doorway is here, sometimes it's not. It can be removed, so sometimes they have a direct line of sight. And he's got a cue wedge here. So if the band is using wedges, the mixer can listen to what is being sent. A lot of bands now use the in-ear monitors, and so we have a combination of wireless WYSICOM transmitters. Most bands that are on ears will bring their own ear molds, so, because they're custom fit for each person. And then those that don't use ear monitors, we provide wedges.
If you were talking to potential guest bands coming on this show, how could they best mentally prepare and prepare from an audio music standpoint?
Yeah, I think come in well rehearsed, number one, which might seem like an obvious thing, but not everyone has resource to do a proper rehearsal, or maybe they're hiring local musicians. So come in rehearsed as best you can so that you're not having to figure things out here where there's so much else going on. We're now under the bleachers, so we are underneath where the audience sits. Equipment is stored here and staged here and all that stuff, but this is another Digico Quantum 7, and this is a little bit more TV-centric in the sense that there's production elements coming in here. So the lavalier mics that are part of the show, that way the Roots can be hearing the interviews as they're taking place. There's video playback. Things that are part of the overall show that the Roots need to hear all go through here and are fed to them on their ear monitors. And then as we walk through here, this is where a lot of our infrastructure for everything we do lives. It's on the noisy side because there's a lot of fans running, keeping this equipment cool. The PA amps, the processors are here, which is a Dimitri system. The mic panels for all the signals that enter the system come back here. We've got guest band, we've got home bass, which is Jimmy's position. We've got house band, which is the Roots, obviously. So all this copper feeds into our shared network system, into these mic panels. And this is a pretty robust LAWO routing system, which allows us to pick up any signal from anywhere at any position, and then route back any signal that we want to. If I want to share a mix or a stereo submix of something back to front of house or monitors, let's say we've got 24 string players and they don't want to have to mix all those strings, I could do a stereo submix, route it back to them, and then they could pick it up all through this system. And then down here, these are just where we store our stuff. Mic cables, these are the mult boxes, which get labeled each day with the inputs, and then there's a multi-pin disconnect here, which allows us to break them away after the sound check is completed and then reconnect them with one connector. What takes us 2 to 2.5 hours in the morning to fully set up and sound check reconnects in about 8 minutes, including rolling the risers out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you have the artist, their front of house, or some sort of representative come talk to you before they perform to make sure there's some sort of alignment with their process and your process?
Yes, there usually is. And it could be any combination of those people. Most often, the people that come with me up to my room are a front of house engineer who's intimately familiar with their artist and their music, or sometimes a music director. If they're not playing on stage, they might be upstairs with me. Sometimes the band's manager wants to be there. It's kind of the best place to listen, so it's a good experience for them. And then oftentimes the artists themselves will come up, if not after rehearsal, in the morning to give a listen to their performance and give it a final sign-off.
Can you tell me what time a typical workday starts, when the show is, and when you usually walk out the door?
The crew is here at 9 a.m. That's when we begin setting up the stage for the guest music rehearsal, which takes place in the morning. And then at 11:30, we do a camera block where the camera positions are in place, the director's playing along, and we run the song once or twice more for them to actually see it, rehearse the camera moves, get the timing right. And from 2 to 5, we're focused on the other elements of the show. The comedy, the monologue bits, things that might require some special planning or choreography, and we work with stand-ins to get the blocking right. And then we'll rehearse with Jimmy and the Roots, and maybe if it's a guest who's performing in it, that usually happens around between 3:30 and 4. And then after that, we're loading in the audience and getting ready for the show, taping at 5. Taping happens basically in real time from 5 to 6, maybe 6:15. And then after the show, I always enjoy when the band comes up to listen. I can play the song for them and make sure they leave happy. This space is where I spend the majority of my day. This is where I do my work. And so I communicate with everybody over this RTS panel, and I can reach any of the people on the floor on headset. I can reach the other mix positions. I can talk to the director. And then, some of my favorite outboard gear on the analog side for vocal chains, primarily. This is like my vocal stuff.
Now, what monitors are you on?
These are JBL 708s.
Why?
I've been using JBLs for a long, long time. To me, they sound great. They just tell me what I need to hear without being overly hyped, without being overly boomy.
Now, one thing that I'd love to ask music mixers, because there's nothing that like grinds my gears more on the internet when somebody does some snarky response.
Right.
To where they're like, how come you can't get the mix right? Why is that?
Well, everyone has a different sense of taste. But at the end of the day, the challenge for anyone doing one of these jobs is creating one mix that works everywhere. And in our case, we're mixing the show in 5.1 that goes out over the air on television. And when people listen at home, they might have a beautiful home theater and hear it exactly the way that I heard it in here. Most likely not. I can't control that. But I can at least check my mix in a lot of different places to prove to myself that the mix I'm creating here is the best it can be in all those environments in the aggregate. So one way I do that, even though I mix the show in 5.1, I check it in stereo a lot by hitting just a stereo down mix button, which takes all the channels and folds them down to just the left and right. And then I also do a lot of checking on these Fostech speakers, and it gives me an opportunity to check the kind of the real world experience of what it might be on a small TV or on a sound bar. If everything else is feeling really great, but then I go to the little speakers and the vocal is a little too loud or a little too soft, I'll make those adjustments to the mix.
I never acknowledge myself in this, but I feel like I have to say they will not let somebody who has no idea what they're doing sit in this chair, especially for a show like Jimmy Fallon, who's naturally super into music. I have been in this room and it sounds incredible. So I will say it. He won't say it. It's probably you, not him. Get better gear. Come on. Okay. I said it in my own way.
Thank you for your defense. Thank you. And because a lot of our show is, experienced online now on people's laptops on YouTube or Instagram or on their phones, I check stuff there too. I'm always learning. I've done well over 3,000 shows and I'm still learning, and experimenting with things.
Can you give me a board rundown?
Yeah, so what we're looking at right now is the LAWO MC²66. This console, been in this room almost 11 years. So it's on the older side, but it's rock solid. It still works great. It's never been turned off. And, we have to maintain it a little bit, but it does everything I need to do. Bank 4 is my roots layer, and if you just start at the beginning, there's the Beta 52, there's the 91, there's snare 1 top and bottom, there's the rack, there's the floor, there's the underheads, and then I do this little thing where I flip the faders and have my SUBKICK, snare 2, and those little side mics that we were looking at downstairs. And then we're into the vocal section, which has Tariq's mic. I always like to put the lead vocal right here because I'm right-handed, and that puts it right there. And then my left hand can do all the band stuff over here while I'm doing vocals with the other hand. I lay out all my consoles the same way. It just gives me an efficiency of the workflow, which allows me to do kind of my best job. Questlove, his vocal mic is here with his talkback on the flip. So if he needs to talk to me, I can hear what he's saying to the band, or if he needs to communicate something directly to me, then I can hear him right to my speakers. Kirk's vocal, Mark's vocal, Stroh, James' vocal, and then if the horns ever sing, which is very rare, but every now and then they do, if they're not playing their horns, I've got a Beta 58 out there for them too. Then on this side of the desk is sort of all the production-related elements. This is the fader for Questlove's laptop, which is usually muted. That almost never goes to the mix, but I have it landed here right off of my right hand so I can PFL. Next to that is an acoustic guitar wireless pack, which we would put on Jimmy's guitar if he grabs a guitar and wants to sing something. And then right next to that is Jimmy's vocal mic. These are different wireless mics that are kind of available to us. These are the famed silver microphones. We have 8 of them. So if something comes up where we need to hand those out for a guest or a musical bit or a comedy bit, again, they're landed, they're ready to go, they're bussed. I open them up, I push them up. I've got the interview mics in the event that something comes up. And then on the flip side of all this, I have a whole bunch of spare channels, which are just 12 analog inputs at the Roots Bandstand in case somebody is sitting in. Everything is pre-built into the console template in order to work efficiently and quickly and be able to play along with whatever the writers might come up with, whatever the producers want to try, whatever Jimmy might want to try. So everything I just showed you is the Roots layer.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to guest band. Okay, yeah, sorry.
I use this same console for the Roots and for the guest band, and the way I accomplish that is with layers. If I go to bank 1, that's where I always build out my guest band. When I start my day, I reload the template so that everything is zeroed out from the day before, the labels and the positions. So in this case, this is the Broadway show Chess. They were here earlier in the month. And this is a big one. This is 56, 57 inputs by the time you add all the wireless. I always try to get a copy of the song ahead of time, and I use that as the starting point. A live performance doesn't necessarily have to sound the same as the record, and sometimes it shouldn't, and sometimes they want to come in and do something different. You know, this is an opportunity for them to make a statement, so we tend to go along with whatever they're trying to do. I just try to make it the best version that it can be. Pro Tools is how the show gets recorded. Everything gets recorded multi-track off the stage. There's no processing. It's just a flat recording, which gives me the ability to work with it afterward and make decisions afterward.
This is a mix that could go straight to air and it's good to go.
Yeah.
This is a 99.9% mix,
Yep.
confidence mix. However, you do have options over here. Everything's going into Pro Tools here. And so then after the artist has done their thing and, you know, they can literally come in here and sit, you can replay it. And if they go, oh, can you make a little tweak here? You can make that tweak before air.
I can. That is a luxury we have on this show that's a little bit different from a live show, is that we have an enormous safety net, which is the ability to capture the show as a live show, as it's going down in real time and everything's happening in the moment and improvise and everything else that's great about it. But we also have this window of opportunity before it airs where we can make changes or edit things if we need to. And what that does is it actually gives us a lot of permission to try cool stuff.
You know, this is a precious moment for any artist coming in here day after day after day that they're getting to play the Tonight Show. This is a career-defining moment for them, which seems, especially as the person who is not on their team that has been with them for years and years, that there's an immense amount of pressure that comes onto your shoulders with that responsibility.
The responsibility is not lost on me. I take it very seriously that we've got a record of success and we've got a lot of tools and resources and very talented people that are there to make them look good and sound good and give them the greatest opportunity they can have. And hopefully that inspires them to then just go out and do a great performance. I really like what I do, and working with Jimmy, learning what his special skills are and how to make the most out of all of that and be part of it was a big highlight, and continues to be. Meeting some of my heroes and having a chance to work with them and make them sound good to the world.